others in the office can probably do some of that or whatever, see what we have. But yeah, like if I'm assuming it's going to be quite a few, like in the northern part of the county, there's just a lot of signs that are missing up there. So we would probably want to contract with somebody just to put those in for us. And we would have to inventory our materials too, because we do have posts and we do have the sign making stuff. So yeah, it hasn't been super well thought out, just so if you probably gathered that, but we would have to really put it together and figure out what it would take. But those are our options.
Well, it's hard because you put up a sign 1 year and then the next year it's
Right.
gone or been hurt or whatever.
It does take a lot of planning because you also need to call one call before.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
And that's a long ways.
yeah. They aren't gonna do it in 15 minutes.
Yeah, and their timeline, I don't know if it's still the same, but it's 2 weeks. So 2 weeks, and if you go 15 days and drill, now you're liable for whatever you hit. So
Yes.
not that we've had that happen, but we've had that happen. So
Anybody that's done any of that stuff has had that happen.
any other questions?
No.
That includes pounding posts too, as well as digging.
Right.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Sheriff.
So on there, you guys will see the requests that we made. The first one is Justice Center AC/DC expansion for an estimated amount of $25 million. Give you guys an update about this. Last time we talked, I explained to you guys that the city police, city fire, city of Laramie was hiring not a contractor, but request for proposals for a consultant to come out and do a site assessment of the sheriff's office, Laramie Police Department, and Laramie Fire Department, specifically Fire Station 1, right there behind the detention center. That company has been hired and will be on site next week to start their process. That process should be completed within 3 months, so by about the end of October. And we'll have concrete information of what space needs, what that space assessment is going to look like for all three entities to possibly join into one building. So they're also going to be able to give us an assessment of the potential sites for that joint public safety center, essentially. The idea for it is that it would consolidate all of our public safety offices into one place. So not just police and fire, but courts, potentially prosecutors and defender's office as well. We already have Laramie Area Regional Communications within the detention center on there as well. So they will be looking at that site for the detention center expansion. And essentially that whole 400 block in between Grand and Ivinson, since it's owned by both city and county, on there as well, along with other potential sites. So yes, like I said, we listed this on there, knowing that there is a chance that this would come down the pike on there as well. So I know that that's in addition to your administrative services office. We can talk some strategy of it's probably going to be better if we have one building ask and not necessarily two building asks on that special purpose tax that goes out to the voters. So that could be a conversation for another time. But to give you an update, like I said, the sheriff's office City of Laramie Fire Department and the Laramie Police Department is moving forward on trying to figure out exactly what our space assessment is, what needs that we have, and what the potential options will be. So, like I said, here in 3 months, we'll have that report for you. So, and then we'll probably start moving afterwards, looking at potential design options too. So, something for your consideration moving forward. Looking at what not only the county, but what the city will most likely ask for the special purpose tax as well.
And Sheriff, is this 25 million just the county's take on this? There probably haven't been any financing conversations.
There's no financing conversations. Part of the assessment is to see what those space needs will be, and then what that cost will be as well. So in terms of estimates of other buildings of similar size on similar sites, they're usually anywhere between 18 to 28 million.
Okay. For the
Yeah, for the whole building. So
And then do you have any idea or any recent estimates for the ACDC expansion, putting a fourth pod in?
So we're including that with our site assessment as well.
Okay.
So I don't have any concrete estimates on that. It's half a floor on the third floor for 2 new pods. So
You're on TV.
am I? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So like I said, I don't have any assessments. I don't even have any rough assessments for you. But
I didn't know if there was anything recent done, probably within the last 10 years.
no, there hasn't been any expansions done on that building since.
I know it was designed to be
It was.
expanded upon.
Yeah, when you look at the top of the building, you can see that
Yeah.
only half of that third floor is on there. So
Yeah.
it's definitely before my time. I was told that they had ran out of money, and so only built half of the third floor. So
Obviously.
Gary will tell you, yeah, that is what happened.
so I would imagine it can't be terribly too expensive because it's not a whole lot of space. So it is concrete, which will be expensive, but we'll go from there. Part of the reason why we're doing the site assessment. So instead of, like I said, looking at joining all 3. But the main part of the expansion is, like I said, sheriff's office, courts, LPD, and an expansion for fire station 1. So, 2 and 3 are essentially just updated asks. We asked for the same thing on the last special purpose tax. So sheriff's office patrol vehicles for the amount of approximately 350,000 on there as well. And that includes outfitting. So, and then the body camera and equipment storage. That contract is fairly expensive. The equipment is not very expensive, but the digital storage of all of everything that we record is quite expensive on there as well. So, for search and rescue replacement vehicles, we haven't asked for this before, but we are going to get to the point, I believe this special purpose tax, correct me if I'm wrong, Treasurer, will run for another 10 years.
It runs until collected.
Runs until collected. So some of the larger vehicles, more expensive vehicles that we have are aging, are already aged, to tell you the truth. And so those will have to be replaced at some point. Those will be some large ticket items.
So anything like your dually pickups? And
The dually pickup definitely needs to be replaced. We're making do with it right now. It's still cheaper to make repairs on the dually vehicle than it is to go get a new vehicle, a vehicle that size to.
But you're not talking like Snowcat or anything like that?
I am
Oh,
talking
you are?
actually possibly Snowcat on there, either moving from a Snowcat to a Hagland or replacing the Snowcat for another Snowcat. So
How old's the snowcat now?
I knew you were gonna ask that. I want to say we purchased it in 2004, 2006, one of
It
those.
was later than that. It was 8 or 9. I
Yeah.
wrote one of the recommendation letters for it.
Okay, so 2008, 2012.
Well, how many hours a winter does it get used?
So we train on it, so it gets at least 20 to 30 hours in terms of training and moving it around on there, and then everything is just call dependent on there too. So
I don't know that it's even necessarily search and rescue. The year that the county acquired it, they were using that Mercedes or whatever, that articulated thing
yeah,
up by Wheatland 3, and it broke down and they had to back it out at 2 mile an hour from the residential
Oh, that'd be
development
fun.
up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up going up. Jeff Beeston called and said, "Hey, we got a guy that needs to be extricated."
Yeah.
And I called Osterman at the time and he said, "Good luck."
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably a necessary resource.
well, there's also potential for replacing that vehicle with other smaller vehicles that are a little bit more nimble and a little bit easier to move around and a little bit easier to maintain over the life of them. So we've looked at, like I said, Haglins are a little bit faster and a little bit more reliable. We've also looked at a couple Sherp vehicles as well that can be used for the same reasons in our area, but really easier to maintain, easier to store, so, and easier to get fixed when it
And they'd
inevitably
still
breaks.
be able to bring people out.
Yep. Yeah, all of these are essentially extradition vehicles so that we can go out
That
into
should
the
take
canyon,
care
grab large amounts of people and bring them safely. So those are the vehicles that we're really looking at on there. But those do, like I said, just trying to be as transparent as I possibly can. Those carry large price tags. So
Huh, I can imagine that.
so, and then another 250,000 for ACDC surveillance and security updates for the jail. So, like I said, we're really not at the point where we need to look at building a new jail facility. But the building is old enough to where it will continually need upgrades. So basically on the surveillance and security sides as well. So it's going to need new doors, new locks, all kinds of different stuff like that.
Sheriff, with the consultants look at the detention center and kind of assess the useful life left in that, because we're not spending good money after that.
Yeah, I've asked them to take a look at that as well, to evaluate that space more specifically because we're looking to move some of the offices that we have in the detention center out of the detention center, which hopefully can increase the useful life of that building. Like I said, relocating Laramie records in there as well. And that opens up some space on that lobby floor for the detention center as well. So, but yes, they're going to be looking and assessing all of that as well. So like I said, one of the ideas that we have is expanding onto that building for that public safety center. So.
I have a question about the Justice Center. So
Sure.
so you're asking for 25 million. Is the city gonna come to this meeting and ask for another 50 million for a building too?
We're not exactly sure quite yet. So the way this came about is that we were looking at it from the sheriff's office perspective. Like I said, because we have space issues within the county courthouse, we know that we're going to have to expand in one way, shape, or form, whether that's moving all of the administrative offices out or moving all the criminal justice offices out into a separate building. So in working with the city already had money set aside, a small pot of money set aside to do an assessment on their buildings as well. And they were gracious enough to include the sheriff's office on there too. So, so there is a chance that, like I said, I don't really know, I don't really have an answer for your question. There's a chance that, yes, they might come and ask for more. There's also a chance that we reduce our ask from the sheriff's office as well. You know, and go Splitsville with the city on there. So more of that information will come once that site assessment is actually done to see, like I said, what exactly we need and what those costs will really start to take a look like.
Because if the detention center, if they choose to go to a different location, then what happens to the detention center? So now we have another vacant building that,
The detention center stays. So
so no matter what, the detention center stays.
yes, yes. The detention center is not relocating. We're not relocating the detention center in any way, shape, or form. What we're trying to do is consolidate that block where we can add another building onto that block for both the sheriff's office, Laramie PD, and Fire Station 1. Fire Station 1 doesn't necessarily want to relocate either, but they need to expand for all of their equipment and administrative needs also. So.
Thank you.
So like I said, it's an all-encompassing site study to where not only they're gonna look at the existing sites where we currently reside and see what the option is to build and expand on those sites, and then potential other sites where we can build new and expand. But the detention center is not moving in any way, shape, or form. I've made that clear. I'll make it clear again. Like I said, that's not moving. If we're looking to redo a detention center or relocate a detention center, that cost goes up anywhere between 3 to 4 times as much. Okay.
How do you see using if Lark were to move out and records, or Lark and records, separated that way, utilizing that space more for SO office space or?
Most likely what we would do is, when they built the jail, they were solely focused on the jail. Not any of the administrative offices or any of the other things that you have to deal with detention, where we have a very, very small special management area. We have essentially a closet for our medical evaluation area as well. And so a couple ideas have been moved around. So one for expanding a special management area for any inmates that have special needs. One for expanding an area for like a mental health clinic, a mental health evaluation wing for inmates that come in with pretty serious mental health needs. We can provide them another space as well. It's also been talked about expanding possibly a juvenile detention wing, although the current sheriff is not in favor of that in any way, shape, or form. So, but that is an option on the table.
I have a couple questions. If that's
Yes,
okay.
of course, Tracy.
When was that site assessment supposed to be complete?
It should be completed by, I believe, November 9th.
Our next meeting is scheduled, and it's a joint meeting with the county commissioners and the city councilors and town of Rock River for August 25th. We need to have our projects decided before we go into that meeting. So I don't know if that's gonna be conflicting information.
When do you guys need to have the asks on the bill to go to the taxpayers?
We were looking at there's a potential that it could be a special election in May, but we were probably more likely looking at the primary, I believe,
Okay.
in August. However, in order to start the negotiation process with the other two municipalities, we need to have our ducks in a row.
When we did the 1%, which we went through a similar process, we did it. We went to the meeting with all of our things and we negotiated, we had everything was hammered out by the first of the year with the resolution so that the ballots had time to be drafted and all.
I don't see any reason, based on what you guys are telling me, that can't happen again. So that site assessment will be complete and pretty comprehensive, well before the first of the year. So, and I have a feeling that both the county, the city, and the town of Rock River will still be in some negotiations throughout September and October, trying to finalize what the law is going to look like.
And additionally, because I didn't hear from you when I sent out this last update, and the last time you gave me these projects has been probably a year, I think. Are they still in the prioritization that you would choose to have them for the commissioner's consideration?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question on number 5, which surveillance. So this would be in addition to the cameras and the network infrastructure that just was the ask this year.
Yeah. Well, so we didn't necessarily ask, money from you guys. We were
It was
spending,
awarded.
the bid was
Yeah, the
awarded.
bid was awarded for infrastructure and surveillance upgrades.
Right, but we're spending tax money that has already been set aside for that. That's a software upgrade. So,
That was a lot of hardware.
yeah,
That was a lot of hardware.
yeah. Well, a lot of, it's redoing all the wiring networking that goes to it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I have no other questions.
Do you have any?
Thank you.
Yeah, just really quickly, Tracy, has the county and city, Rock River and City, Rock River and County, any collection of those ever bonded a project together or gone to a sped tax together on a project? And if so, what does that look like as far as for your end of collection of taxes?
I don't believe so, because, I mean, we're separate entities with separate bond ratings, I would say. I'm looking at Todd.
The cooperative agreement at that point?
I'm wondering.
So there was a joint project, not through the specific purpose tax, I don't believe, but I believe there was an Albany County Joint Powers Board that may have actually been used to help finance a portion of that justice facility. That's way back in the memory banks.
Right.
I have the files, but I'd have to go dig them out and find that for you, but I'd be happy to go back and try to answer that question for you.
Yeah.
I think that would be when the city bonded on our behalf because we could not bond. And then the 20-year agreement when we took ownership of the detention center, which was in 2020-ish.
Yep.
But that would have been on the 1989 specific purpose tax ballot.
It's been done before, so we're not breaking new ground here. So,
It can be done. If
Okay.
That's what the ultimate question is.
yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was in 89. Lark's on here.
I just
that sheet you
emailed-
just- yeah.
I just emailed that out a little bit ago. I thought I included it Friday, but I did not.
With the jail endowment. Yeah.
One more question on the study.
Mhm.
Does the study or does the study encompass moving the courts to a justice center as well? So the additional court, district court, circuit court, okay.
I've asked for that. to
And
be included.
municipal, I'm assuming too, yeah.
And like I said, they'll be on site next Thursday.
Any other questions?
No, I would like to be included on that. Or at least CC'd on the study. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anthony? Good morning.
So basically the boilers are 22 to 23 years old. Been repaired several times before I even started. Since I've been here, I've replaced the ductwork from the boiler to the ceiling. It was all rotted out, just falling on the floor. Placed a flow switch, it's completely rusted. I can't only imagine what the inside of them look like. But I think we need to start thinking about planning on replacing them. Probably the next 5 years. The pumps are starting to go, starting to make squealing noises. Yeah, so I think it'd be important to do that so that it doesn't fail in the wintertime. You know, maybe replace them in the summertime. So. Just a
And we
thought.
think it's been cold in here before.
Yeah. But, And that includes the pumps, the two small jockey pumps. I don't know if the ductwork through the building to the roof is salvageable or usable. That might need to be replaced. So yeah, I think this is a safe number. That includes controls and all that too. So yeah, that's it on the boilers. The cooling equipment, so that was Adam's thing. He did that before he left. And that's my thing, apparently now. I did talk with Adam and he was saying that, so these are the split units, in the data rooms, you know, they keep the data rooms cool. And he said 2 or 3 of them, the bearings are starting to fail and he thinks they're nearing the end of their life. And he put this in here because he thinks they need to be replaced eventually.
And Anthony, is that in the IT building only? Is there?
No, it's the courthouse. Yeah, the IT, yeah, they have their own separate, they have like a traditional AC unit over there.
Okay.
There are mini splits in all the closets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think you have one mini split over there?
Yeah, and regular AC unit. We have both.
Was he including that one in it too? You know?
It says county facilities and not just courthouse on the request.
Okay,
So it might be more than that, but I don't know what costs.
so maybe it is that one too.
Okay. Okay. And then Anthony, on the boiler replacement, I see sensors. Do you have any alarms? Is there any alarms associated with something like that? So that we don't have to be surprised? like we were
Yeah,
3 years ago?
like the flow switch is one of those, they're designed for if there's no flow, it'll shut the boiler off. So it's not heating nothing. And, but those units have fail safes built into them. Some of the electronics, from what I was told, had been replaced before I started in there. Motherboards and stuff like that. But yeah, there's already fail safes in place for those things. They'll shut themselves down if something's wrong. But if a flow switch is frozen like it was, it won't shut itself down. Luckily, I caught it before anything happened. But there is stuff incorporated into those.
But no additional alarms other than the flow switch that you know of and the sensors in here?
No, so like there's a lot of different things. If a sensor and a duct is somewhere in the building is not reading right or something, it'll shut the boiler down. You just have to make sure that all these sensors are doing their job, actively, not just waiting for something to happen. Like the outside temperature, if that's reading -99, you're gonna have problems. So, and that's my job to just make sure all those are, working. So there is several things in place.
And this 460 quote is pumps, everything included.
Yeah, and I just got a budget quote from the people who are currently, we have our maintenance contract with. They've done several of these jobs and that was just an estimate, but yeah, that includes everything.
Okay.
And the number on the sheet, I think we bumped up to $500,000 so that there was some extra for all the other things that might come up that start tearing it apart.
Yeah.
Inflation.
That too.
Okay. Any other questions?
Cool.
Thank you, Anthony. Ben, come on up.
I think the only thing I had on my list was the in case there was a new building, the IT support for it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where the number actually came from, but I assume that's wiring and equipment racks. Batteries, probably. Generator,
So that would be new build.
yeah.
For Bailey and Jennifer or the sheriff, had you figured those costs into the $30 million? I just don't want to be double.
We hadn't because Adam had them separately when we talked about it before. I think our costs did not include IT because Adam had done them separately.
Okay.
I think it's also gonna depend on what comes of the new building or new whatever, which departments go where and how much infrastructure is that. Just how much demand.
Yeah, if we stay where we are, probably just need a nice closet.
We did look at wiring.
And all that in the 25. Okay.
Any other questions for Ben? There you go, Ben. Thank you. Fairgrounds, Taylor is trying to get all of the invoices for the sale on Saturday taken care of, so she is unable to join us. And I'm sure that's why she has in here a little bit more explanation on each of the items that she brought forward. Did you have anything to add to that, Thad?
Is that the priority, you think?
Oh, I'm sure it is.
It is. It is. I asked everybody when they provided them, or when I gave them the list, or they gave me the list to prioritize. Yeah. And so that is their priority.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, okay. Rachel. Come on up.
I couldn't see her. I
Oh. You thought I was just.
I know, I'm like, is she online?
Hello, good morning. Yeah, so similar to what kind of Dave mentioned, kind of the wish list for the library. Really my approach to this was obviously as we're finishing this infrastructure project that we have, we've really extended the life of that building, and there's just a few last things that would fully bring our building up to snuff and sort of carry us forward for a few more decades. So the biggest thing was a remodel of the children's area, essentially just being able to extend some of the work that we've done. That would include actually hiring a design service to come in. Everything else we've done in the library, obviously not the big infrastructure project. We had architects and contractors, any of the other adjustments we've done ourselves. That area, there's just a lot more pieces and new furniture and all sorts of things to work through that it would just benefit from having someone come in and do it. The hope would then be to be able to rearrange that area so it gives us more flexibility in that space. So potentially like putting books against walls, putting shelves on casters. Already currently, we have about 40 to 45 folks at most of our morning early literacy programs, which actually probably won't fit into our new activity center. We'll use that for other things. Will fit into our meeting room, but it gives us a chance to just use the children's area. We want it to be more flexible, as well as, there's lots of layers of that. Flexible space, being able to kind of carve out space. It's shared from everything from an infant to a 12-year-old. And so being able to carve out spaces where it feels appropriate for all of this. So that would be just a nice update. Most of the stuff that we have in there is original to it when it was built. Most of that shelving, a lot of that has not been changed. So that's the biggest thing. The next one is just new landscaping on the north and west sides of the building. Really the goal here would be to get something that once we invest in it is pretty low maintenance going forward. Another major sort of The maintenance piece of that is that right now, and the way that it is designed and structured, we get, as snow melts, we get a just constant runoff onto those sidewalks. And so we're constantly battling that being an ice skating rink. And then you put ice down and then you've destroyed the concrete and it's just layer after layer. And we have both of those two, all of ours, we did go out and get quotes. We have talked to folks about what they think it would cost. So the hope would be that on the north side and on the west side, we do some better terracing, so that we could actually control that flow of snow runoff so that it would not run off into the sidewalk. And we'd sort of be able to catch some of that, as well as just making it nice. The west side's pretty sad looking. And so it would just be nice to have a little better look on our county buildings as people drive by, but again, trying to do something that's super low maintenance so that right now our facilities team spends most of their available time in the summer taking care of things that you can't even really tell. They're just like hacking down weeds. So that's the idea for the west and north sides of the building and landscaping. The other two are smaller, and actually I did not get back to Tracy. I would actually flip this order. So that next one is pretty, so new roof, I think we'll be able to take that off in general. So when we first sent these projects, I was looking forward again to like not necessarily what we need today, but what might we need in 10 years. And a new roof in 10 years, certainly. We, with our infrastructure project, are going to cover the worst parts of the roof. We'll get new roofing, so we won't have a completely new roof, but the places that create the most problems will, in fact, be fixed. And they've added a lot more roof. They've added a better roof drainage system, which protects the inside of our building a lot better. So I think we can take that one off. And then the other one is super small. But again, with not knowing where, so really probably the size that 1% or some other things could take care of, but threw it on there, not knowing where property taxes and sales taxes are going to be moving forward. That one is just a small improvement to staff spaces. We still have the popcorn ceiling isn't even the right thing to call it, because it's about 3 inches thick of like popcorn texture. I can send pictures.
Is it acoustic deadening and what is it?
I have no idea. So it's throughout the whole building. It's actually in the main part of the building too, but they did a drop ceiling a couple decades ago over that part, but they didn't do the drop ceiling in the staff area. Underneath it, I'm guessing that nobody has ever wanted to touch it in the like, we have tests that say there's no asbestos, but you just don't want to touch it because you just don't want to find out that there is. So they just dropped the ceiling, but it's gross. It's gross. And so I would love to give staff a space where they don't look up and see grimy ceilings that can't be cleaned. And we have estimates. We think that'll just be a $25,000-$30,000 project, but just give that improved. And that's kind of the last bucket in terms of solving things for our building. Children's area and staff areas are kind of our last big bucket. Happy to answer questions.
So has the roof on the library ever actually been replaced?
Yeah, it was actually, this is actually the quintessential SPET project. Was it 2000?
Because I'm looking at unspent SPET money from 01 and there's still $6,000 and yeah.
So that was a roof that was very
Okay.
specifically the roof replacement.
Okay.
And that was the one that Tracy always uses as an example because it was written so specifically that it really can't be used for anything other than that. And like I said, when I put the roof on there, it was more, so yeah, it was, I think we're at about 20 years is when, for the life of the roof. I think it was replaced about 20 years ago. Does that sound about right?
2001, so they got the money through bonding,
About 20,
so.
Yeah.
We're 24.
Yeah.
Then?
Yeah. So yeah, 25 years. So thinking, 8-10 years into the future was kind of where I was with that. We have had some leaking issues, but I think we've again, so that piece, and so as we've had repairs, I think it whittled it down. I think we were at 28,000-ish, a couple of years ago, so we've used it for some of our repairs, but yeah.
Okay.
That was, the last time it was replaced was spent and in a very, very specific purpose that has
And then-
not allowed us to do anything
So the
else.
2018 money there's 92,000. Are you still working that off?
We're still working that off, yep, and we're pretty close, so we'll do some of those vouchers if they're not here or on their way. So the new fire door had always been a part of the plan, so that ended up getting worked into the infrastructure project, but it was originally on our SPET plans, so that'll come out of SPET. And we have some final furniture, but we're waiting for some final big pieces going. So actually, we should have that spent down in the next year or two.
I have a question, Commissioner.
Really?
So Rachel, we know you have some roof money sitting there, and then, I'm sorry, I just blanked on what you just said, that you had money in SPET still sitting there. And then yet you put it into the infrastructure grant, but yet the county, the library still has money sitting in some accounts for those. Those do need to be used prior to using grant funding.
Yeah, we didn't use it. We put it into, what I was saying is we put it into the larger work of the grant project, so it was incorporated in. We have separate invoices for the fire door, and those will be sent over to the county to be paid for out of SPET. None of that will be paid for out of the grant.
Okay, but I do think that you said there's 6,000.
That's in the 2001 for the roof.
I think we have to use that money prior to invoicing the grant for the roof, because it's money already allocated to library roof. And if we don't, it's supplanting.
Okay.
So we need to invoice.
And we actually
need to invoice that SPET account prior to invoicing the grant for any roof work with that big infrastructure grant we have.
Okay, and we haven't invoiced any of the roof work
Okay.
yet, so.
So let's
Make
make sure.
So just have them pull out the appropriate amount.
Yeah, we'll just pull out the 6,000,
Separate
send that
invoice.
over.
Yeah.
That's easy enough.
And then that'll take care of the rest of that SPET, right?
Yeah, and we
Well,
can
there's there's 968 for the 2001 SPET up front. And that's the 6,000, and there's account number 971.
Yeah, that's
Got the overpayment.
the overpayment, because you may be fully collected say today, we can't shut the tax off.
Sure,
It
you
has to
can't.
go through the month after the.
So we need to make sure those numbers jive to the 11,000 or 11,000 something dollars. Okay. I just remember seeing it. That's the only reason I had it pulled up.
Oh, I thought you were still typing, Rachel.
Oh, I was making sure I had a note to myself so I didn't walk away and forget to do the steps I needed. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, airport board, come on up.
Good morning. My name is Daniel Hawkins. I'm the operations manager at Laramie Regional Airport. I was hired about a year ago to run the operations and maintenance out at your airport. And I'd like to first take a moment to thank you all for this opportunity to discuss our planned project for the special purpose tax. Laramie Regional Airport respectfully requests a special purpose tax or SPT funding to support the design and construction of a new heated aircraft hangar, which will be a critical piece of infrastructure that will enhance economic development, improve transportation resilience, and reduce the long-term reliance on local tax dollars. We propose to build a 176 by 150 foot heated hangar, and it's designed to accommodate a wide range of aircraft. And while the facility will primarily house smaller business class jets and general aviation aircraft, it's purposely sized to house up to 2 regional jets, such as what serves the airport right now, or even up to a single Boeing 737. This flexibility ensures that the hangar can support a broad spectrum of aviation needs, from the routine corporate travel from our business members in the local community to special use government or charter aircraft. The facility will be vital during the 9 months of the year when Albany County experiences freezing temperatures and severe weather, which we normally just call winter, and it significantly improves our capacity to host overnight and transient aircraft. Now, why does this project matter? For 4 reasons, okay? There's an infrastructure gap at the airport that this project will fill. Laramie Regional Airport currently lacks adequate heated hangar space for mid to large size aircraft. This deficiency results in lost revenue as diverted traffic goes to competing airports. And it also reduces our ability to service such things as the business travelers, medical flights, and state and or university related aircraft. Secondly, there's a proven and growing demand for heated aircraft, hangar capacity at our airport. Over the past 4 years, we've seen a steady rise in those requests for overnight and protected aircraft storage. And this especially occurs during University of Wyoming events such as football games and graduation, during severe weather, and also regional aircraft that wish to spend the night at our airport. Without this hangar, we are losing this revenue, are constantly forced to turn away aircraft and the money that those aircraft would bring into our community. Just as a point, we currently have 6,825 square feet of heated hangar capacity, of which 6,825 square feet, of which half of that roughly is already contracted out long-term, leaving us about 3,500 square feet. This hangar would bring us up to about 26,000 square feet, about 4 times the total of our available currently heated hangar airspace, and thus increase our capacity to host aircraft and their accompanying revenue by that amount, 4 to 7 times. Why else does this matter? Well, it will increase our operational efficiency. Aircraft exposed to the winter out on the ramp require costly and time-consuming preheating of the aircraft cabin, de-icing, which is expensive, and increased maintenance on the aircraft that are exposed to extreme cold. A heated hangar will allow for faster turnarounds, more reliable scheduling, and an improved user experience, as you can imagine, boarding an aircraft inside a heated hangar versus out on the ramp during January or February weather. This will be key to retaining our repeat visitors and expanding the airport usage. Another reason why this project matters is for business and economic growth of the community. A heated hangar is more than just a convenience, it's a competitive necessity. It enables us to attract and retain corporate and business class aviation, which will directly support Albany County's economic development goals and increase our value as a regional transportation hub. Now, financially, this hangar is not a sunk cost. It is a revenue generating asset and is designed to operate sustainably. Our projected annual revenue, once we get up to on step, will be somewhere between $300,000 to $500,000 a year. Now, that won't occur within the first year. We will have to gradually build up to it as the hangar and its capacities become known throughout the aviation community. Our rate structure will be extremely competitive, and we'll attempt to draw out those assets who currently reside overnight down in northern Colorado at much more expensive airports such as Arapahoe and Fort Collins. There's also year-round utility to this heated hangar, not just to be used primarily in winter, but also during football weekends, during Cheyenne Frontier Days, during Laramie Jubilee Days, and when other aircraft need to have an enclosed place for conducting maintenance on the aircraft outside of the elements. And this will reduce our dependence on local tax funds. Revenues from this hangar will offset airport operational costs and reduce the need for future general fund contributions from the city and the county. Community-wide, there are benefits to this, including economic. Airports are, as you know, powerful economic engines. We contribute a larger economic force to the local economy. This hangar will support business travel, government missions, as I said, but also investor access to Albany County, which will stimulate job creation and local spending. Additionally, as I mentioned before, this is a good place to support University of Wyoming and state functions. This will support academic programs, athletic charters, and any kind of legislative travel into Laramie and Albany County. Now, our funding requests, we're asking for $7 to $9 million. We estimate this at $350 per square foot from the hangar. This funding will go into the planning and construction of the hangar. This project is a forward-thinking investment that benefits not just Laramie Regional Airport, but the entire region. With SPT support, we can fill a critical infrastructure gap, establish a reliable revenue stream, and reduce the long-term taxpayer burden. We welcome the opportunity to discuss financial and operational details. We thank you for your continued leadership in advancing Albany County through a smart, community-driven investment. Subject to any questions.
So Daniel, I'm guessing the size of the hangar is to accommodate the 737. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How many of those would you, just off the top of your head, feel like you could, how many nights in the 737 would you put in that hangar?
Well, currently we host several 737s, Airbuses for charters for the athletics during the year. Additional would be additional charters that come in. We have charters that fly in to visit one of the local ranches, one of the luxury ranches in the community. With word getting out that they could have a place that not only could hold a 737 and we can close the doors so it's not open to the public eyes kind of thing, we think there would be an increase in interest in that. So for an actual hard figure, I couldn't tell you right now, but we'd have to go out and look at and gauge that interest. There'd be kind of a three-pronged promotion of this hangar once it's built. One is we would go to these charter companies and these air taxi or fractional companies such as NetJets and let them know that, hey, this is available for you to use. Secondly, we would have to go to just regular advertising as part of our advertising budget, just in the magazines and websites and such, and say, hey, this is available for use. Come talk to us about using it. And then thirdly would be, and probably one of the best ways, is word of mouth. Once aviators find out that Laramie has not only a large hangar that will fit several aircraft and it's out of the weather and such, and at competitive prices, we think that would drive a lot of interest into folks coming in and using our hangar.
This would increase your utilities some good deal. I mean,
Yes, sir.
depending on how you heat it, right? Every time you open the doors, right, there it goes. Have you thought about that as you thought about your budgets going forward?
We have some thumbnail prices that we've gone to. I know I have it somewhere in my approximately $250 to $1,100 per night. Again, it depends on the size of the aircraft, and it's not exactly linear. The larger aircraft per square foot would give us a higher revenue rate, but multiple smaller aircraft would also fulfill that revenue rate as well. And when we start talking numbers, Tammy, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I just want to add to also, we are getting more diversions, and as we get those diversions, some of those aircraft are carrying more than the capacity for the secured side of the terminal, which is about 148 right now. So if we go over that, this heated hangar would give us the ability to have a secure location where we could deplane a larger plane and keep them in that facility without them having to go to the terminal. So it would also increase our ability to get more diversions. But I think you at the last board meeting when we discussed the amount of money that we've been making off of the diversion. So that as well. But yes, the expenses have been included. It's not part of that 300,000 to 500,000 that is quoted in the actual estimate that's in there. But so that would be the gross, but the net, I mean, electricity and two big ones. So, and I anticipate that the gas would be roughly 3 to 4 million a month, just based on what it is in the terminal alone. And the terminal, the doors are open a lot, the terminal, the backs open all the time at SkyWest, but with that big open door, it's even a little bit higher. And then factoring in what we have for the hangar that your plane is in, roughly around that 3 to 3,500 a month in the winter. Yeah.
Thank you, Tammy.
And we are pursuing Southwest as being a diversion base for them. So if they have an aircraft that lands that has any kind of maintenance problem, they would want that inside a facility.
Is there an option to do smaller hangars that would at least house, or several hangars that would house a business class jet?
That is an option. But right now, as far as if we were to put that on the current footprint where we believe this aircraft hangar would go, we kind of wipe out that future possibility of expansion at the airport. This is a good piece of real estate that just basically calls for a large size hangar to allow for that revenue stream from the larger type aircraft.
Okay, my only hindrance is if you're chasing business with UW, and I'm going to ask you this very bluntly, is UW paying their fair share for the airport usage right now?
Well, again, we're going to talk about financial stuff, and I'm not really qualified to comment on those items there.
Okay.
I don't know if Tammy wants to address that at all.
That I can say, I understand what you're asking. Are you talking about?
Yeah, if you're pursuing a charter aircraft for UW and UW comes in and says, we want a deal because we're based here, are they
I can tell you as far as the charters that we're talking about are UW athletics. Those charters are not impacted in any way, shape or form by the atmospheric hangar that's out
Okay.
there that does not contribute.
So this is a third party that you guys would be dealing with
This is
strictly for
athletics,
the
yeah,
charter?
and-
Okay,
And it's also the teams that come in from, the other schools.
okay.
And they just pay our rates. They don't ever, we only have one time in the 3 years I've been here where anyone's even questioned our rates. But I do think that they would be happy to pay more if they could be inside, especially if they're overnighting,
Sure.
if they're gonna run.
If it's a late game or whatever,
Yeah.
yeah.
But we did think about, adding hangars that are over there on Charlie 1 and Charlie 2. But we just don't make enough money on the ground leases to, I mean, even if we own those and hangar them out, the amount of income that we can make is not anywhere near what we can make on the nightly rates, because the nightly rates are so much higher.
Because a big plane, even one night, is basically a month's worth of rent for a
Right.
smaller.
And because we're only 20 minutes from Denver, like the NetJets like to come in because they can drop their bigwigs off in Denver and then come to Laramie and pay less for a hangar in Laramie.
Oh, so
and
it's
wait.
easier to reposition the plane here?
Yes,
and-
they'll just,
okay.
yeah, and it's similar to kind of what they're doing in Rock Springs as well. Rock Springs currently has a hangar about this size, and that's kind of what they do. They go out to, there's a schedulers conference that, we can go to where all of those, companies like NetJets and stuff are there. And we can tell them, this is where we are, this is what we've got. And that's how we can bring like, so we kind of do that way.
Okay.
So.
And they're out there. We do have NetJets currently overnighting at the airport, but if we had a larger capacity, then they would definitely bring more in because we would be more cost effective for them.
Does demand for heated hangars in the winter, I imagine in this region, in the wintertime,
Yes, sir.
just skyrockets?
Even in the summer because of the thunderstorms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, especially your smaller aircraft and like helicopters, would like to get undercover as well. So, me personally, I wouldn't mind parking the visiting team's jets at the far end of the airport and making the players walk all that distance to tire them out before the game, but my director
If
will
it
not allow me
tires
to
them
do
out
that.
for the game, then they're not in shape.
With this, I'm imagining this would require the cold hangar to come down, and that's where you would put.
Yes, sir.
Is that figured into this cost?
It is, the cost for the planning for that is figured into this. The actual cost for removing that hangar, I do not have that or at this time, so.
Okay.
I imagine if you waited long enough, it's just gonna fall in.
Right.
That's actually one of my fears.
I'm sure it is.
But I
Then
suppose
you
we could
just
get,
call the people that come in for loan.
I suppose we could reduce it by having someone in just salvage the materials themselves for
Is
cost.
that-
So
Is that basically decommissioned right now? Is there anything in it that?
only airport equipment.
Okay.
The only time we put aircraft in there is in an emergency such as a hailstorm's coming or severe windstorms coming.
So you're not even gaining any income off of it at this point?
No, not at this point. And we would try to actually get the person into the heated hangar, and some pilots would rather just push it into the cold hangar for that hour or two. With
Is
that.
it for structural reasons or?
Well, structural reasons, and we have a bird problem inside of it, which is not good with the paint jobs and chrome with nice aircraft. So nice aircraft will not go in there, so we don't get any revenue from that.
Okay.
That's it, I'm done.
All right, again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Tracy?
Hi.
Hi. Okay.
That is all the projects that were submitted to me. One consideration, that Bailey did mention this morning that I didn't, it's not anywhere on here, is whether you choose to go forward with a new administrative building or the Justice Center, there will probably have to be some kind of something happen in this building.
Oh, yeah.
Some remodel. So, yeah. And
That's
what
not
that
figured.
dollar amount, Jake has an idea.
I can come up with an idea, but
So I think it probably very vastly between.
200 square feet. What the scope is.
In my thinking, some of these smaller projects, there's so many uncertainties with property tax in the future that I hate to say, for instance, like, let's take the boilers out and let's just pay for it, let's just do it because we got the money in the building reserve, but then we might not have money going forward. I don't know. So many what ifs.
I have some questions about the bonding as well. So the tax is voted up or down, it passes or it doesn't, and then we go to a bonding company that basically bonds against the income. What rate are we bonding that at? As you said, it was different by entity. What is the county?
Sure. So this is gonna be a really long answer.
No, it's fine.
But, so a lot of it is dependent on, of course, which projects decide to finance their project. You know, back in 2018, there was an existing specific purpose tax in place already. So we were looking at what the collections were for that existing tax to sort of provide us with some estimates of what we would anticipate for the 2018 election. With the approval of 65 million, you know, the 18-month average for that existing specific purpose tax that was in place back then, you're collecting about, on average, 480,000 a month. So at that time, to collect that 65 million, we were looking at over 11 years for that tax to be in place. And fortunately, collections came in much higher than that. So we're really looking at a 7.5 year time frame to collect that number. So depending upon which projects need or require financing, a lot of the bigger projects, sometimes it makes sense to try to finance those, because is it gonna cost more to build it 8 years from now than it is to build it over the course of 24 months? Probably. So you need to incorporate some sort of an interest component in that number. Back then, I was looking at the airport, for example. I mean, I think we were able to finance the airport board project as well as the county's projects that you chose to finance at a net interest rate of, gosh, I think it was 2% or less at that time, right? Different interest rate environment, we're at higher rates now. And so that's going to impact what that number is.
Okay.
You know, the other thing that we built into place, looking at what historical collections were, I, for one, didn't want to forecast that we were gonna double our collections over the next 10 years. Because once you issue the debt for your respective projects, that payment is fixed. So you're locked in. So if collections were to, say, drop below that 400-some thousand level, it's gotta come from somewhere. And who's gonna make it up? Well, the taxpayers probably. So for that reason, we're somewhat conservative in what those estimates were. So we made absolutely sure that as the sales tax came in, set that money aside, make your debt service payment. If the money comes in earlier than anticipated, like it has, then we're gonna be talking to you about paying all that debt off by December 15th of this year and saving all of the interest that was set aside for those projects, which then goes back to those projects to be used for O&M.
Will you just understand my concern, because we're voting on this next year, and some of this bonding would probably have to be delayed until after we find out if property tax revenue decreases to 50%.
Yeah, and this is based upon the collections. You know, we recommended, and we've included language in the previous year's tax questions to allow for general obligation bond financing, which means that you could in fact implement property tax to repay the debt that's being issued. We've never had to do that, right? That was just a method that we used to allow the county to borrow the money at lower interest rates, lower than if you just issued a revenue bond based upon the tax coming in. These were double-barreled bonds. So you had a GO pledge with the revenue coming in from the sped tax to pay them back. Never had to implement a mill levy to repay those. We've always collected the money and paid them off early and then they were required. So to answer your question, what rates would you be borrowing at today? Probably in the 4% range.
Okay. I was guessing between 5 and 7, so that's better than I thought.
Well, I mean, because you're borrowing at a tax exempt rate, it's a rate that's better than you and I can go get from the bank. So if today, now, if rates jump 1%, 2% between that, the time we approve these projects and the election, then that will impact the net amount of money that you receive. So another thing to think about there, I mean, if you've got a project, let's just hypothetically, if you have $1 million project and that $1 million project wants to be financed, you're not going to net $1 million for that project because a portion of it is going to be eaten up by the interest component. So instead of netting $1 million, which is what you receive that you just collected over the lifetime of the tax, you might only receive $875,000. So hypothetical.
No, I appreciate it.
Along those lines, that pursuant to the Wyoming Constitution, we are only allowed to manage or hold debt at 2% of our assessed valuation.
Okay.
Which that figure right now is at $13,362,958, and that does not include that $3.9 million change that Chelsea referenced in the mill levies prior. That'd be 78,000 off of that number I just rattled off.
I just wrote down 13 million. That's
a pretty good number.
okay.
So we can't bond any more than that. So, I mean, if you look at all either new building project, that's 13.
And I was going to ask, so historically, how much of it have we bonded and how much is naturally trickled into the account and then expended?
So last time we bonded as the county for the county sole county projects was like 1.575 million. And we carried the bond in our name for the airport for 5.6 million.
Correct.
My math test, I'm passing. Yay. Before that, in 2010, I don't remember how much we bonded, if anything.
I'd have to go back and look. I apologize.
I'm just curious as to historically what the borrowing habit was.
I think the county tries to not borrow
Well,
if we can.
yeah, no, I understand.
And Todd, is the city at a lower rate, if they were to bond?
No,
No.
sure. They also implemented that general obligation bond language as well to take advantage of that, to get it issued at a lower rate. That both those issues were sold on a non-rated basis. And we were able to privately place most of those bonds right here in Albany County with banks. Okay. So we saved a lot of money on not having to pay for bond rating fees or bond insurance or, a lot of the expenses that you would incur if you went with a traditional public offering. Because let's face it, a lot of the entities here, people live here, they work here, they understand that and realize you're a good credit. The sales tax has always been structured and has always been, ratcheting up. And so they were able to borrow at the same rates in which the county was.
So there would be no benefit for the airport to be on the county versus the city, right? It would just.
No, not really, because if we did, for example, include that language again for the general obligation bond language, we're talking about something that encompasses all of Albany County. So that, if you were looking at how will the bonds be repaid, one is property tax, secondly would be the historical sales taxes that's come in. So I don't believe there would be an advantage going on, one way or the other. I would mention this, if Tracy's right, if you were just wanted to limit it to your general obligation bonding capacity, that you would be subject to that 2%. Now, if you decided that for whatever reason, it was necessary to exceed that number, then we could look at doing some type of there would be a way to issue more debt than the 13 million. It just wouldn't necessarily be secured by a general obligation pledge. it would go back to possibly just a pledge of the sales tax revenue as was coming in.
Would that be at a higher interest rate then? Since it
Most
was
likely.
That's statutorily 2% though.
2% is in the Constitution.
For the GO bonds,
Okay,
right? But if you were to issue
just it'd be
joint
more,
powers board revenue
Okay.
bonds, for example, that you're pledging the sales tax to repay, that's outside of that 2% threshold.
Along those lines, because the airport is managed by a joint powers board, would the airport be able to issue their own bonding through that kind of mechanism?
You know, I want to say we looked at that back in 2018, and they did not have the capacity to issue, that 5.6 million. I think that's why it was ultimately decided to use either the county or the city as the conduit issuer in that case. I don't believe they have that bonding capacity to include. Whereas the city of Laramie, Albany County, and even kind of Rock River has an ability.
So they might be able to issue bonds, but just not at that high of a threshold.
Correct.
Okay.
And not at a general obligation level.
If you have multiple entities, go together on a project, is that up the threshold that you can do a GO bond?
No. That GO bond authorization is written in the statutes. It's really specific to cities, towns, counties. They each kind of have their own threshold.
it would just be an agreement to repay if it was three parties. Am I right? And we'd just enter into an agreement where we'd have a set amount for each entity.
I have not looked into it at all, so I need
Okay.
to give you an answer.
All right.
I can look into it and we can talk about it for sure, but I don't know how that would work.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah.
So I think what we need from you though
Yeah.
is, what you would like to go forward. Knowing that we have to start negotiations with the city and the town of Rock River on the 25th. It'd be kind of nice to have kind of a slate of what you're, for lack of a better word, fighting for. And I think
And fighting is the right word.
And I think we should probably do it formally. Tracy and I kind of talked about this, maybe at the second meeting in August.
Okay.
You guys can come back, because that would be before the work session. So maybe come back with your list of priorities and what you guys think. And then we're just gonna have to talk about it at that meeting. Is that enough time for you guys to,
Yeah.
because we're in a work session, so we can't really make decisions and you know what I mean? Or vote on anything, but.
So the
Is that
last
kind of-
sped amount for the county was just under $12 million.
Yeah.
So, but
11,000,006.
the ask on this is 71 million.
It's all-
We've got some trimming to do.
Yeah,
Little
two
bit,
buildings.
but
You only
I
need one.
believe,
Yeah.
the sheriff is correct. You don't want two buildings going
Yeah,
forward
no.
either, so.
No.
Well, and I think too, and I don't know, I think something to think about too, and Tracy and I went back and historically, look, the city has always gotten the lion's share of the sped tax. And if we have a project that really needs to go forward, I think it's maybe time that the city or the county just steps up and says, historically, the city has gotten the lion's share. What happens if every sped, it's different? Why do they always get the lion's share? The county encompasses the city and the county. And we're not looking at projects that are in the county, we're looking at projects that are in the county, which encompasses the city. So I don't know why they've historically gotten the lion's share. I don't know if Tracy knows either.
I think probably because, the population center is in city limits would be my guess.
But
If we're looking at a base number going forward, the 2018 amount that we anticipated to pay it off was the 65,582,470. Is that the same number that we need to look at for what a potential total would be for this one? Or do we have an idea of what that number would be?
I think the numbers come off of the requests.
Yeah. as you can see, I mean, because 97 was only 13 million, and then 2001, we went to 33. Yeah, 2010 to 42, and apologize, I didn't have this stuff in the packet, but I did send out a history. So when you go back and check your emails, this worksheet will be in there. But I mean, it's slowly increased, and there's some things that probably help generate the increase. Everything costs more now, so that's one thing. The legislature did approve sales tax deductions on online sales. Bigger projects were asked.
I just wasn't sure if it was like, we expect to collect this much number and you work backwards into, or if you just work out a number and then it is what it is.
I believe we kind of put the projects forward and say, okay, then we'll probably be collected in 12 years. I'm looking at Todd and he's kind of giving me the.
Right, it's never been, well, we got 65 million to deal with. It's been, these are our project needs, and historically, you all have gotten together and cussed and discussed it.
Exactly.
Maybe more cussing than. That's, I think, what it's been.
We're not in a place, Todd, and my feeling politically to not be collaborative where we can be. I just don't believe it. So, the airport is a perfect opportunity. If I asked you the question about the airport, that doesn't have to go to one way or the other, right? So Justice Center similar. But yeah, to answer your question, Jennifer, I don't think you want to put out a that tax for $200 million.
No,
But you want to zero.
No, I don't.
Not in this environment.
Yeah, I just wasn't
I
sure.
agree with you.
Yeah, and so, these are great, and I'm sure every one of you and all of these departments needs them, but quite likely, well, you ain't getting them. It'd be my guess, so. But we'll do what we can. I think.
One thing for consideration too is Todd and I are gonna work together this afternoon, and I'm gonna propose to the commissioners in one of your upcoming meetings relatively soon, to pay off our current bonds. The airport is also looking to do the same. That would leave us with a debt-free slate moving forward as well. And we've got the money to do it, and we might as well save taxpayers that interest, so. But the payoff won't happen until December 15th, if I
Correct.
remember correctly, so.
Yeah, we should make that known, right? I think that's often not known how fiscally responsible you all are, so.
I agree with Kayla though, that I think the lion's share of this tax needs to go to Albany County as a facility. We've always, because I've been to a couple of those meetings, and we're the ones that are always taking 2 million off here, 2 million or 3 million off there. But the city doesn't do it that way, so.
Well, these
I
aren't
really think we need to dig our feet in it or our heels in. And
these aren't insignificant jumps. I mean, 23 million in the course of 8 years is the difference in the ask. So I think we're probably reaching a threshold where people are going to say no.
Right, and I agree with that, but what I'm saying is.
Right.
No, I got you, Rob.
Road graders, people in the city are probably saying, you know what? You don't need to worry about road graders, but they do need to worry about a.
Way to get out of town.
A new facility, a new building to come to, because they come here as much as anybody else, so.
Are you guys good with
Yep.
going back and
Yep, I think that's
then
good.
I'll put it on the agenda for the second meeting in August
Yep.
to come back with your priorities. Jennifer, do you think we should approve a resolution with our project order?
I don't think we have a project order.
No,
Oh, I saw that on the agenda. Cammy asked me about it. I was like, I can
Is it
certainly.
on this agenda?
No, it was on a,
Tomorrow's.
it was on a draft one. It maybe is on for tomorrow.
I'll remove it off of there.
Okay.
Okay. And then we can come back.
Do we need that resolution in August, or since it has to be ballot specific, like January? I mean, I don't want to tie our hands.
I think this would just, and maybe we don't even need a resolution, maybe we just need a project order from you guys, just to go forward to the city, and maybe we just, I don't know, I can get with Jennifer
I think the idea was we need to be able to tell the city and Rock River what we're asking for and why, and not, and have our thing, so we didn't come across as wishy-washy in what we want. We needed to have a negotiating position to start with that isn't changing every time something new comes in. That's why we would ask for you guys at the meeting in August to prioritize your projects, so we know what it is we are looking at working with the city and Rock River on going forward.
Right, but you don't need a resolution.
I don't know that we.
I don't know that we do.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've ever done one in the past.
No.
I think we talked about it as a form to formally show how committed the commissioners are to
And
whatever projects you choose to move forward.
we certainly can do one if that's what you'd like to do. We can do a resolution that says, after discussion and based on, the conversations within the county, the commissioners have approved these as our priority of projects moving forward into these spec negotiations.
Yeah, we're gonna be meeting with this commission is gonna be meeting with the city council. I mean, so
Right.
we can press that, and I full well intend to, without having to make a formal resolution in August that might change in the next.
Oh, yeah, I don't think
Oh,
we
yeah.
need, I think we might need to do one prior to the meeting with the city, but I don't think we need. to
Yeah,
have
because
one
this
in
is really just to set our priorities right
Yeah.
now, to go into the first set of.
I would suggest you guys don't. I'm with Pete. I would not
Yeah, and then we don't need to.
I would not handcuff yourself early and remove some of the leverage that you might have in the later months.
I don't think.
But I don't think the resolution would handcuff, because it would just be, this is our list of priorities going forward in negotiations. It wouldn't say that this is the list of priorities that we have to use. This is what, at this point in time, is what it is, because it's gonna change. I'm gonna tell you, they're gonna come in with a list of 10 and it's gonna change.
Yeah.
If it's gonna
Or 20.
change, why would you want to set a
Just to
resolution?
basically come in at a united front that this is
That's-
what
yeah.
the commissioners have decided to come forward with. But we don't
And
have to do
It
that.
could be that it's a new building amount of $30 million without designating what that new building is until you get additional information. I mean, you don't have to be that specific in it, but I think saying we need, our priority, one of our priorities has to be a new building. That's going to be whatever, and as we move through the process, you can define what that building is going to be one way or the other. Because it can't probably be both.
Yeah.
And shouldn't.
So I will just put it on I'll have Cammy amend the agenda and remove that number 8 off of there for tomorrow. But
Okay.
then I will come forward at the second meeting with just where you guys will list your priorities.
Okay.
So we have something to move forward so that I can give the list to Nancy prior to the meeting, because
Yeah.
we have to
Okay.
make an agenda for that work session too, so.
If possible, could you let me know? And I will get worksheets drawn up, because what I'm doing, because what I've found in the past is
Changes so much.
there's been so many changes in numbers, and then trying to figure out how much money was the commissioner's room remodel for is, so I have a tab for every day that something's changed on this worksheet. So if you guys give me your priorities, I can keep everything well documented on why we pick what numbers we pick.
Yeah.
Which I don't care what you pick.
Yes, you do.
I do have some feelings on it, but you know what? I'm gonna support whatever the community wants. But I want to be able to know how to account for it is my biggest thing.
And so we can make sure when it comes down to it, that we're writing the ballot to make sure that we're putting appropriate, that everybody's, not that we're putting, but everybody's in agreement. The city, us, Rock River, everybody's in agreement on the ballot language. This is what it's for. Because it does have to be that specifically defined part when it's not there.
It's not list every road in the city again.
No, but it has to be like a project and a dollar amount for that project and this and a dollar amount.
Talk to the city.
It can't just be a lump sum, so.
They did also a lot of stuff together though.
I know, but it's.
So
messy.
Tracy, that request starts August 13th, right? Or the second meeting in August, the 19th.
The 19th, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want us to pre-load you with
You-
my priorities and Terry's
If
priorities.
you want to send them to Tracy, you can send them to Tracy
Only
and
if
she
you want to
can.
have something like in in front of you that day to, during the meeting.
So if you get them to Tracy by
Yeah.
the
Friday.
15th. Do you want to, is the 15th too late, Tracy?
The day's the meeting, the 19th and the 15th, is that the Friday?
Friday before, the Wednesday?
That's perfectly fine.
Maybe just give it to Tracy and then she can compile it as to what your guys's priorities are. And then we'll make the decision on
Want it by
that.
the 15th?
It should be totally on one hand.
Well, if you need some assistance.
I was gonna say.
That's true, I was gonna say, I'm sure Sunny would assist you.
You know, I gotta say those wireless headsets
Are amazing.
I can dictate, but it still says weird things that.
Yeah.
I've been told I have still a Northeast Nebraska accent.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
I would encourage you guys, if you're gonna whittle it down within the next week and a half, make sure you reach out to those departments, but if you're gonna whittle some of the things on their asks and let them know beforehand so that they don't necessarily.
I'd like to participate in the walkthrough for the,
They don't find out on the 19th. Without knowing beforehand that some of their project has been axed.
But we won't know that until the 19th, right?
Yeah.
You're just gonna, yeah. I'm gonna put my wish list, but these two might not have the same wish list. So the 19th is when everybody's gonna find out.
Yeah,
Sorry
and you'll all
with
come
that.
together.
And that'll be the first time you find out. And then after we talk with the city will be the second time you find out because we're all gonna start high and we're not gonna get there. I don't believe.
I don't
No,
believe so.
so-
either. Yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah. But fair, they say, hey, these things probably are not gonna be fought for. So.
Okay. Well,
so, kids, is that what you said?
I said, so it begins.
That's what I thought, okay. All right.
well, I thought you said weekend.
No, I'm kind of sounds like you're throwing down the gauntlet there, so.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll keep on working on this. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Tracy, it would also be kind of nice is if some of these had other funding sources that might make sense. That would be a helpful thing to know.
Yeah. Well, and when you look at like the boiler, we could continue to fund the building maintenance fund and we could say we could pay for it out of there. But like Tracy said too, we could pay for it today, but then that kind of limits us if we have another catastrophic. I mean, if it came down and the boilers went out today, we could pay for it.
Right.
We have the money. Do we want to do that? But
But it's a long-term project, so this could,
it could be okay. Yeah.
yeah.
So the thing about the specific purpose tax is if you don't bond it,
in that meeting.
whatever percentage it is of the county project is